Good afternoon, everyone. This week has once again made clear that the extreme MAGA Republican agenda is to jam Trump's Project 2025 down the throats of the American people. What is Project 2025? It's dangerous, it's dastardly, and it's diabolical. Project 2025, the Trump and extreme MAGA Republican agenda, will criminalize abortion care and impose a nationwide ban on reproductive freedom. Trump's Project 2025 will end Social Security and Medicare as we know it. Trump's Project 2025 will destroy working families and the middle class in favor of the wealthy, the well-off, and well-connected corporations. Trump's Project 2025 is dangerous, diabolical, and dastardly. And we will not let the extreme MAGA Republicans hide this reckless agenda from the American people. And we need the American people to join us so we can stop it. Questions?
Leader Jeffries, NBC News just in the last few minutes moved some reporting that several of President Biden's closest allies now say that he has zero chances of winning. A direct quote is, he needs to drop out from one Biden campaign official. He will never recover from this. After the week and a half that we've had, do you agree? Is it time?
Throughout this week, as House Democrats, we have engaged in a process of talking to each other. Those conversations have been candid, comprehensive, and clear-eyed, and they continue. Until that process has concluded, I'm not going to address what any outside stakeholders may have to say about this matter.
How much longer can you allow the groping to go on before it ultimately moves him?
House Democrats, Senate Democrats, and President Biden are unified on the affirmative agenda that we have for the American people related to lowering housing costs or ending price gouging or growing the middle class, defending democracy, and fighting for reproductive freedom. President Biden, House Democrats, and Senate Democrats are also united in pushing back against Project 2025 and the extreme MAGA Republican agenda. That's unifying, not dividing us.
Leader Jeffries, President Biden has said he's staying in this race, but after your conversations throughout this week, do you think it's time for him to reconsider that based on what you're hearing?
Our conversations have been candid, comprehensive, and clear-eyed, and they are ongoing.
Leader Jeffries, you said that.
Hold on. Oh, right there. You.
Thank you, Leader Jeffries. I do want to ask, so you have another frontliner coming out today, Congresswoman Hillary Scalton, calling for Biden to step aside. You have Greg Lansman saying that he's coming closer to that conclusion. Are you worried that Biden is a liability for your most vulnerable members?
No.
Do you think that Democrats still have to win back the House to fight the top ticket?
House Democrats will win back control of the House of Representatives on November 5th and vacate the extreme MAGA Republican majority as long as we are able to clearly communicate our agenda of putting people over politics, lowering costs, growing the middle class, defending fundamental freedoms and democracy, and contrast that with the extreme MAGA Republican agenda, which will destroy working families and the middle class way of life as we know it. Thanks.
Do you believe Biden's made a final decision about whether to stay in the race?
As I indicated, House Democrats are engaged in conversations with House Democrats at this moment in time. Those conversations have been candid, clear-eyed, and comprehensive. And that's important for us to do as a House Democratic Caucus family. And as long as those conversations are ongoing, I'm going to respect the sanctity of those conversations until we conclude that process.
Thank you very much, Leader Jeffries. I want to ask about appropriations. The last time the Speaker's job was threatened, it was your caucus that bailed him out, gave him the support to survive, and that was very important to him maintaining his job. In that context, what are your priorities for the appropriations process that's underway? Do you plan to use your leverage over the Speaker to get some of your priorities through, and if not, then why not?
In connection with the appropriations process, we've had no discussion about a theoretical or hypothetical motion to vacate. We take every issue and evaluate it in a serious, substantive, and sober fashion. That's before the Congress, and that's what we'll continue to do. With respect to the current appropriations process, we've been very clear that in May of last year, House Democrats, Senate Democrats, House Republicans, and Senate Republicans, in partnership with President Biden, reached an agreement connected to the Bipartisan Fiscal Responsibility Act. That agreement in this upcoming fiscal year calls for a top line spending number of $1681. The Republicans in the House right now are marking up an appropriations bill at $1606. That means they are cutting $75 billion from their own agreement reached with everyone else under the Capitol Dome and President Joe Biden, along with Vice President Kamala Harris. That $75 billion cut will adversely impact the health, the safety, and the economic well-being of the American people, hurt children, hurt seniors, hurt veterans, and hurt many others. It's unacceptable. It's not sustainable. We are not going to accept a dime less than the 1681 number that we all agreed upon. The behavior of the extreme MAGA Republicans right now, and by the way, they're unable to pass their own reckless appropriations bills, which should tell you everything you need to know, suggests to me that they are marching the country to a dangerous government shutdown at the end of September. There are 213 voting members of the House Democratic Caucus and 3 additional delegates. Every single one of those voices is important. Throughout this Congress, we've tried to engage when we've been confronting unprecedented event after unprecedented event after unprecedented event in a process of maximum communication in order to arrive at an enlightened path forward. That's what we've done every single day of the 118th Congress, and that's going to continue. In the back? It's important for us to continue to engage with each other here in the United States House of Representatives, but even more important for our members, as they have been doing, to engage with their constituents back home on any issue. This is representative democracy, and the House is the institution that the framers designed to be the closest to the American people, to reflect the hopes, the dreams, the aspirations, the fears, the concerns, the anxieties, and in the words of the framers, the passions of the American people. That requires intimate engagement with the people back home that we're privileged to represent on any matter but certainly on matters of consequence.
Thank you, Leader. If President Biden fails to deliver tonight at tonight's press conference, how will Democrats move forward?
That's a speculative question, and as I indicated, we're involved in an internal process that we take seriously, and until that process is concluded, I'm not really in a position to comment on external events.
How much is at stake?
With respect to
I'm sorry, first row.
Among your frontline members of the caucus, the ones who called on the president to withdraw, did they confer with you, try to get your blessing, notify you in advance?
As you can imagine, there have been a lot of conversations that have taken place over the last several weeks, and those conversations are private until frontline members or other members of the caucus decide to make them public. Kevin?
After the last 2 weeks, even with all of that, there was at least one polling poll that suggested that Biden and Trump are still relatively neck and neck. Is there a case that you have made or that you can make for staying the course with Biden as the nominee? And then on top of that, if you don't follow what the concerns are of some of these members that are coming out and speaking, and don't call on Biden to resign, and he loses, you don't get the House, you don't become Speaker, why should the members trust your political judgment?
We're going to work as hard as we can to win back control of the United States House of Representatives in November. And I think at the end of any election cycle, people are going to evaluate what the performance of House Democratic leaders has been in achieving the objective. That involves candidate recruitment. That involves how much resources the DCCC is raising relative to our counterparts on the extreme MAGA Republican side of the aisle. And it also involves what happens in any high-profile special elections that may occur during the course of the 118th Congress, including ones that may happen to emerge in your own backyard. The record will speak for itself. I'm not going to characterize it at this moment, but all of this information is in the public domain.
Is there a case to keep?
Thank you.
If I may ask, President, your meeting with
Thank you.
with Zelensky yesterday, we talked about it a little bit yesterday, but if I may ask more specifics, have you been talking about lifting all the restrictions from Ukrainian army and how Congress may help Ukraine with that? And also, have you been talking about securing aid to Ukraine in future, maybe next year?
We have not had any conversation about future appropriations, but we did have a very thoughtful and candid and comprehensive and meaningful discussion with President Zelensky and his team yesterday. I was, of course, joined at that meeting by Catherine Clark and Pete Aguilar, Speaker Emerita Pelosi, some of our leaders on the committees of relevant jurisdiction, including Jim Himes, Adam Smith, Greg Meeks, and Rosa DeLauro. At that conversation, we talked about how we can fully implement the legislative product that was produced in connection with the national security package. And we also talked about the stakes being incredibly high. This is a moment in the world where we are locked in an existential struggle between democracy and autocracy, between freedom and tyranny, between truth and propaganda. The United States and Ukraine stand on the side of democracy, freedom, and truth. Vladimir Putin stands on the side of autocracy, tyranny, and propaganda, and is engaging in brutal tactics such as bombing a children's hospital. Russian aggression must be stopped at all costs for the good of the Ukrainian people, for the good of America's national security interests, and for the good of the free world. And we made clear to President Zelensky that we will be with him every step of the way until Russian aggression has been defeated.
What was the restrictions from Ukrainian army?
We discussed a wide variety of issues in terms of how to operationalize the legislative effort that was was passed and signed into law by President Biden. Great leadership in that regard from President Biden. And we will follow up our conversation with President Zelensky with members of the administration.
The inflation report came out today with indicators that inflation is cooling. You mentioned Project 2025. There were some legislative failures on the floor for House Republicans today. Are you concerned that the conversations that are going on with your members, speaking to the press about Biden's candidacy, are a distraction from the message that you could be sending about the economy turning around, about Project 2025 that you led with your remarks, with the legislative branch approach bill failing? Are you concerned that those opportunities are being lost to this conversation that we're having about Biden's candidacy as it pertains to House Democrats?
We have to look at the cumulative weight and balance of the discussion that has occurred throughout the 118th Congress. The 118th Congress has been a disaster for House Republicans. It's been characterized by chaos, dysfunction, and extremism. As evidenced today, House Republicans can't accomplish a single thing without Democratic support. And by the way, have no interest in doing anything meaningful except for jamming their extreme right-wing ideology down the throats of the American people in the form of Trump's Project 2025. That's the reality of what has occurred for the last 18 plus months. And the American people see it. They know it. They felt it. And they've experienced it. And we don't track polls day to day, week to week, month to month. But one thing has been clear throughout the last 18 plus months, and that's the generic ballot. Who do the American people trust more as it relates to the House of Representatives? House Democrats or extreme MAGA Republicans? The data consistently speaks for itself. We're going to continue to both thoughtfully engage in the conversations that we've been having with each other as a separate and co-equal branch of government here in the House of Representatives. And at the same time, also make clear that we have to articulate a vision for the future that meets the needs of the American people, building upon the transformational progress that has been led by President Joe Biden. Last question.
Next week is the GOP convention. I'm curious how Democrats are going to organize messaging or counter messaging around the GOP convention.
The extreme MAGA Republicans can run, but they can't hide from the American people. And next week, we will see chaos, dysfunction, and extremism on full display. The notion that the extreme MAGA Republicans can convince anyone that they truly don't want to criminalize abortion care and impose a nationwide ban is a joke. The extreme MAGA Republicans are responsible for the situation that tens of millions of women find themselves in right now. We will continue to make clear, we believe in a woman's freedom to make her own reproductive health care decisions. Next week, we'll highlight, again, for the American people, that the extreme MAGA Republicans want to criminalize abortion care and impose a nationwide ban. We will make clear that we want to strengthen and protect Social Security and Medicare. The extreme MAGA Republicans want to end Social Security and Medicare as we know it. We will continue to make clear that House Democrats, Senate Democrats, and the administration are fighting to make life better for working families, the middle class, and everyday Americans, while at the same time, extreme MAGA Republicans simply stand up for the wealthy, the well-off, and the well-connected. Thank you, everyone.
Mr. Leader.